Hey guys, and welcome to my new movie review for the Twilight Zone, the movie, back in 1983. Wow, that is actually the year I was born, so figure that one out. You're welcome. Guys, before I get into this review, I just need to tell you something that I actually genuinely can't believe that I've only just discovered. Now, I honestly can't believe, one, that I never knew about this, and two, that I've only just found out about this like literally like a few days ago. So if you don't know, I'm going to leave the link of what I'm about to talk about in the description of this YouTube review. So this this footage didn't make it into the final cut of this movie. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Twilight Zone the movie is actually technically four segments of movies put into one movie, and each of those segments is completely different to the next. They are as weird and as different as each other, but they are completely different. They're completely totally individual little short films. And in one of the short films, guys, there is an incident, a very, very tragic, horrific incident that actually happened to Vic Morrow in one of the sequences. Now, he is in the completed version of the sequence element that actually happens in the movie, right? He does the full sequence, and I'm guessing that this, well, obviously it was because the tragedy happened, but the tragedy happened in the second last sequence of the footage that you see him in the Twilight Zone the movie. It was the second last thing that happened. So obviously they didn't film the incidences and the sequences in chronological order, because if they did, it doesn't blend into the tragedy that happened. Now, guys, before I go any further, let's roll that synopsis. Twilight Zone movie synopsis. Four horror and science fiction segments directed by four famous directors, each of them being a new version of a classic story from Rod Serling's landmark television series. One of the things about Twilight Zone the movie, guys, is when you actually type it into IMDb, is that you need to be really mindfully aware and very, I guess, careful is the word, that you don't type into IMDb the Twilight Zone, because the Twilight Zone is actually the series, not the movie. The movie is just called Twilight Zone the Movie. Wow. So, unfortunately, the incident is extreme that happens in the footage, and it's frame by frame, so you see exactly what happened to him and the children in the incident. And unfortunately, Vic Morrow did pass away. So this YouTube video, as you saw at the start of my video, is actually dedicated to the tragic, this is in memory of him. It's really interesting, guys, really, really interesting that the situation happened to him because of who his character was in that segment of this movie. And for those of you who have been following me for any period of time, I don't do spoilers in my reviews, so unfortunately I won't be giving anything away. The Twilight Zone, the movie, let me say that again, Twilight Zone, the movie, yes, it is a horror movie. Yes, it is a horror movie, okay? But because of the fact of where film was and where film is today, in my personal opinion, I don't find this movie horrific. I didn't see it horrific. I understand totally that if I had have watched this when I was a child, and I didn't at all, I literally saw Twilight Zone the movie for the first time literally the other night. Now, just in case you're wondering where you can find it, now I couldn't find it anywhere, and luckily that I have an account, but I actually found this, I rented it through iTunes, and that's the only place that I could find it. if you have it on DVD or Blu-ray, then that is pretty impressive, because there was no streaming service that I was looking for it on that I found it anywhere. Not that that's a bad thing, because it's so, like, 1983, guys. That's a really, really old film. In saying that, it's so fascinating to see the different actors in this movie. Some really just incredible high caliber actors, but it's really fascinating to see them in such an old movie. It's incredible to see when you see actors of their age at how far they've come in their acting ability, because some of them are just so ridiculously good at what they are doing, like literally, like they're just such impressive actors. Watching a movie like this at so long ago, you think to yourself, wow, yep, that makes sense why you work in Hollywood, literally. Now, I want to talk to you now. For those of you who don't know, there are actually four completely separate directors for this one film, and the reason why that there is four directors for this technically one film is purely because of what I've said at the start of the review. Is actually four different completely separate storylines within themselves in the one movie, and they don't relate to each other at all in any way, shape or form. They are literally mini movies, right? So first off, we have Joe Dainty, who directed the first one. I unfortunately had the first one, the opening sequence of technically the first one, I had it spoiled for me. Which, looking back, I'm kind of gutted, because I probably would have got scared of it, but I was watching a YouTube clip, it might have been Watch Mojo or something like that, talking about the movie, and then all of a sudden they literally gave that sequence away, and it was like in the opening thing, and I'm like, oh. Spoiler alert, thanks guys. But as I said, if you have seen the movie The Exorcist, if you've seen that movie The Exorcist, then that's what I would equate to, but not in the extremities of The Exorcist, just the makeup of it. As in the visual makeup, as in what a certain character wears. That's what that sequence, the opening sequence, reminded me of. And I was like, I was really impressed. I was really impressed because as I said, I had it spoiled for me, unfortunately. But in saying that, it was still really impressive to see it, even though it's that old. Because when you think of a horror film, most horror films in general are done in the dark, and this was done in the dark, but it was the character was illuminated, so it was really clear. It wasn't just something that was just like hidden from you, that you had to kind of try and look at too much depth to see what you're looking at. Now, I have to say this. Steven Spielberg, even though he's the bottom of the IMDb list for the directors of Twilight the movie, he actually directed the second segment of the movie, which is kind of a happier segment, which is really interesting because coming from E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you would actually think that he would have done a genre segment of that genre, like the Alien-esque, but he actually didn't. His was completely just kind of unusual for his palette of movie. Now, it was actually really fun. Purely, the reason why he didn't get to do an Alien type of movie or segment is purely for what happened to Vic Morrow. It was very, it changed, which is realistically looking back, I'm actually surprised that the movie was released like in general at all. Now, for those of you who don't know, Twilight the movie actually is as a duration of 1 hour and 41 minutes long. So each segment is broken up into that time frame, into the 1 hour and 41 minutes. This is it's going through the list of actors specifically for the movie being a horror sci-fi movie. It is incredible. You literally have like top caliber actors such as Dan Aykroyd, and he actually plays in 2 of the segments, and I won't tell you where or who or what, but he plays 2, and they're both completely they are completely different, but they're one and the same. And if those of you who have seen Twilight the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen Twilight the movie, when you get an opportunity to check it out, you'll know exactly what I'm saying right now. That it has so many unusual characters and faces in it. Some you'll definitely recognize 100%, and others you'll have no idea who they are. And one of the faces, guys, that blew my mind, I saw her, and yeah, she's in the second last segment of the movie. She's in the second last one. And I kid you not, guys, in any way, shape, or form, I was like, man, why does that lady's face look so familiar? And it's so interesting that her face looked familiar, because it's not actually her face at all. That was the familiarity for me to see her as. But in actual fact, guys, it was her voice. Now, her natural voice is not at all in any way, shape, or form. Now, guys, the reason why I'm bringing this person up is I'm actually another one. I'm going to link this lady's YouTube video that I saw, and I was just blown away, completely blown away by this, because it was just so beautiful to see this. And I'm actually talking, guys, about the voice herself, yes, herself, as the 10-year-old from Springfield Elementary School, Bart Simpson. Yes, I am talking about Nancy Cartwright. Literally the voice of Nancy Cartwright. Now, Nancy Cartwright is in one of the segments of Twilight Zone the movie. She's in, I won't give it away, but she's unbelievably young in it, ridiculously young. And you would, if you knew who she was, you would recognize her straight off the bat. But as I said, she's a voice actor for Bart Simpson. So if you didn't know who she was, then you'd be forgiven, because you just wouldn't know her face. You'd only know the face of Bart Simpson being a cartoon, or the voice of Bart Simpson. But seeing her do it is just phenomenal, guys. And I don't want to give it away what happens in the YouTube clip that I saw, but it is so incredible. It is absolutely beautiful. It's amazing. It is wonderful. Twilight Zone the movie, guys, is a very, very unique horror sci-fi. It really, really is. And this is the question that I ask you guys. This honestly is. It's the question that I ask my audience every single time. I really do, genuinely, authentically, because it really is a question that needs to be asked in the history of film. All film is subjective. All film is subjective, guys. But I ask the question, that does Twilight Zone the movie have, and for anyone who has been following my channel for any period of time, you know exactly what I'm about to ask right now. Does Twilight Zone the movie have, in my personal opinion, what film needs in its core DNA to be able to go back time after time after time, whether it's 36 years later, to rewatch it, which I like to call, guys, rewatchability, guys. This word right here. Does Twilight Zone the movie have in its core elemental DNA rewatchability? Does it? I'm not going to answer that one. I'm not going to answer it this time. I'm not. I know my personal opinion on it, but I'm going to leave it up to you guys. So whoever watches this review, and if you'd be so kind, if you would like to, I'm interested, if you've seen Twilight Zone the movie, leave your comments in the comment section below. I'd literally love to hear back from you, to hear if you believe, after you've rewatched it, or if you've rewatched it, would you go back yourselves and rewatch Twilight Zone the movie? I'm really interested. Knowing the theme, knowing the actors in it, knowing the unfortunate and ridiculously sad situation, the tragedy that happened to Vic. I'm interested to know what your opinions are. Genuinely, guys. I'm really interested to know. Now, this is going to be crazy, guys, but the reason why I'm going to go crazy on this part of this review is purely because of the fact that I feel, and this is literally my dedication, my way of honoring Vic Morrow in this element. I'm actually going to give you a ridiculous amount of trivia from IMDb. I'm going to read you out now a massive amount of trivia. As I said, this movie has a lot of stars, but as I said, guys, there's so many casts. There are so many casts. As I said, 4 segments in it, so it's got a ton of cast in one to the next to the next to the next. And purely because of that, guys, that's why I only told you about a few little cast members in it that really stood out for me. And I haven't mentioned the one that I really, really liked yet. And that, guys, is the one, the great, the brilliant, the amazing, who I personally feel, in my personal opinion, is one of the greatest actors ever. And that's John Lithgow. He is in the last segment of Twilight the movie. And I kid you not, in any way, shape, or form. Oh man, does his character, he brings it. And his, yes, all the rest of them, except for the one that Steven Spielberg directed, that's the only one that isn't the horror element, sci-fi. Oh, I guess that's sci-fi, but it's not a horror element of it. But the rest of them definitely are. But in saying that, guys, the one that John Lithgow is in, the segment that he's in, I cannot even begin to express how brilliant and how much I love that one. That's definitely my favorite one, besides the one that Vic is in. The first and the last one, in my personal opinion, are incredible. The others are creepy, and it's Twilight, so they've got to be creepy. But the first and the last one are definitely my favorites. Seriously, they are just incredible. I mean, they really are. Now, for those of you who have been following me for any period of time, I'd normally continue on with the directors of it, but I don't want to spoil anything. I really don't want to give too much away, because I really want you, I kind of want to give you a treat for yourselves about it, guys. I want you to go in it cold. I want you to see it for yourselves. I don't want to spoil anything. I want you to go and see it for yourselves. I want you to see it and to know what you think about it. But I want to see if you think that it has rewatchability to it. I'm interested to know if you think that it has the horror elements that you think, because it's totally different today. I mean, it really is so different. Horror has taken a totally different turn in film today, really has. So for those of you guys, and one, thanks for being here. I just want to take this opportunity before I go on for the rest of my movie review. I just want to say thank you. I really genuinely, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the core of my being, from the depths of who I am as a person, guys. I seriously want to say thank you. I appreciate you being here so much. I really do. Doing these movie review, guys, I love the fact that, I have such a small audience. I really do. I don't even get many views on my movie reviews, and I understand. I get it. But the fact that I get as many as I do, and the fact that you guys are out there continually watching my views and watching my thoughts on movies and stuff like that, it means the world to me. One day, if ever I blow up and I've got 1 million subscribers and views and stuff like that, will just be a phenomenal day for me. But I just do it for the love of it, guys. And the fact that I have such a following of people who actually genuinely care about what I have to say, thank you. I seriously mean it with all my heart. Thank you. So for my treat to you guys, this is going to be a pretty long segment because there's a lot to say in this, but bear with me, and I'm going to treat you now to a slew of trivia. So those of you who have been following me for any period of time, you know what time it is. It's trivia time. And I love trivia because trivia is like icing on a cake. So it's trivia time! Vic Morrow's friend and former Combat 1962 co-star Dick Peabody wrote that Morrow's last words before the shot took place were, "I've got to be crazy to do this shot. I should have asked for a double." Man, that's so sad. That's really sad. That sucks. He kind of saw it coming. Anyway, guys, next piece of trivia is, as Vic Morrow was waiting what would turn out to be the scene that killed him, he said to a production assistant, "I must be out of my mind to be doing this. I should have asked for a stunt double. What can they do but kill me?" Right while he was filming Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, 1974, he insisted on having a $1 million life insurance policy before he would shoot any scenes involving the helicopter in which he was due to ride. He was very insistent, and when asked why, Morrow replied, "I've always had a premonition I was going to die in a helicopter crash." Man, that's so messed up. Next piece of trivia is, guys, the scene being shot at the time of Vic Morrow's fatal accident was added to the script in an attempt to suffer his bigoted character Bill Connor and give him some redemption while fleeing from American attacks on the Vietnam village. He sees two orphan children and Bill decides to save them no matter what the cost. So he carries them under his arms and waves through the river to safety. He then finds himself back in Nazi-occupied France again, and the two children time jump with him. The Nazis take the children away for execution and take Bill to a train. Due to the helicopter accident that claimed the life of Morrow and child actors Renee Chen and Micah Dillon, all scenes filmed that were with the children were completely cut and they do not appear, guys, in the film. Bill's originally scripted ending was left in with Bill's leaving the shot completely unaddressed. Next piece of trivia is, guys, Steven Spielberg ended his friendship with John Landis as a result of an unset helicopter crash that claimed the lives of Vic Morrow and the two children. He said that the fatal accident had made me grow up a little more and had left everyone who worked on the movie sick to the center of their souls with regard to how the crash influenced their attitudes to safety. He said, "No movie is worth dying for. I think people are standing up much more now than ever before to producers and directors who ask too much. If something isn't safe, it's the right and responsibility of every actor or crew member to yell, 'Cut.'" Next piece of trivia is, guys, according to John Larroquette, he requested to watch the filming of what would become the tragic helicopter scene, but his car was stolen the night before and he was unable to get to the set. That's crazy. Next piece of trivia is, guys, William Shatner at one point was in consideration to reprise his lead role in the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet segment. He had to turn it down due to prior commitments. Ultimately, John Lithgow was cast in the role. Years later, Lithgow would star in the TV series Third Rock from the Sun as the alien Dick Solomon, sent to Earth to observe human behavior with three others. Their boss, the big giant head, was never seen until William Shatner guest starred in the role. When he first appears, Solomon asks him, "How was your trip?" Shatner answers, "It was a horrible flight. There was a man on the wing of the plane." Solomon replies, "The same thing happened to me." That's pretty funny. Next piece of trivia is, guys, on July 23rd, 1982, Vic Morrow, Renee Chen, and Micah Dillon were killed on set when the helicopter crashed in the Vietnam sequence. Attorney James Neal defended John Landis, who, along with George Folsey Jr., Dan Alling, Paul Stewart, and Dorsey Wingo, was charged with involuntary manslaughter. All were found not guilty. Next piece of trivia is, guys, cameo Carol Serling as the woman who asks, "Is there something wrong?" when the flight attendants knock on the airplane restroom door, holding a copy of the Twilight Zone magazine in her arms. She was the wife of the Twilight Zone, the original series, 1959, creator Rod Serling. Next piece of trivia is, guys, Ren Hui Chen and Mike and the two children were being paid under the table so that the laws wouldn't permit children to work at night. John Landis admitted to this, opting not to seek a special waiver because he did not think that he would get permission to be able to film in such a late hour. He thought that he would never get approval to have the children in the part of the scene with a low hovering helicopter and a large number of explosives. The scene went horribly wrong, with the helicopter crashing on all the actors, which was so sad, killing them all instantly. And the investigation that follows, guys, the assistant directors claimed that they had felt uncomfortable with the situation, but Landis saw no harm, so there would have been no point in trying to convince him to film the scene without the children in it. For example, using dummies or dwarf stuntmen, which would look fake. The casting agent had been unaware that the children would be involved in such a dangerous scene. Associate producer George Folsey Jr. had told the children's parents not to tell any firefighters on set that the children were on set, be a part of the scene, and would hide them from a safety fire officer who is also a child support worker, and he was also involved in knowing about the crash, and he didn't want to take it to the filmmakers, and the safety officer didn't tell Landis that he wasn't concerned about the crash or the safety department, because that was not a part of his safety department. Next and final piece of trivia, guys, and I will leave you with this one. Thank you so much for sticking with me. You guys are amazing. Following the film's accidents during filming between 1982 and 1986 fell by 69.6%, although there were still 6 deaths on set. Guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click that bell for notifications. You guys are amazing. Thanks for being here for my review for Twilight the Movie, 1983. Don't forget who's bringing this to you, guys. This is Superman Steve, guys, flying out.